Hi everyone, I welcome you all to my channel today. Thanks for your love for my video, and if you're watching my video for the first time, you are welcome and I appreciate you all. Please subscribe to my channel, like my video and share my video as well. Thank you very much. Now what I have today is how to cut a male shirt. Now here is the measurement I have for this particular shirt. Now I have, as you can see, the length of this shirt is 26 for the length. Now I have the shoulder is 16 inches, and I have the bust, or what we call the chest, 35 inches. Then I have the sleeve length, 7.5 or 7.5 inches, and here is the round sleeve, 13 inches. So let's start up. Now here is my fabric which I'm going to use. This fabric here is less than 2 years. So the first thing I'm going to do is to draw a straight line here. Now I haven't drawn this straight line. The next thing is for me to start the measurement. I'm going to measure the length of this fabric. Now the length of this fabric, according to our measurement here, I have it as 26 inches. Now this is the front panel. I'm going to reduce the length by 1.5 inches. So I'm going to reduce it by 1.5 inches. So I will place it on this line. And I'm going to measure my 26 inches. I have it here. So let me draw it so that you can see. So I have my 26 inches here. Remember, I'm reducing the length by 1.5 inches up here. So I have my 26 inches here. Then I'm going to add extra 1 inch at the base. So I will also move to the other end, this end here. I will also do likewise. I will reduce the length by 1.5, exactly what I've done here. So for the hop, I'm going to reduce it by 1.5 inches. So I will place it here. And I'm going to mark my 26 inches. We mark my 26 inches. Then plus 1 inch for my folding. So I'm going to connect these lines together. Connect the line together. Then also here, please, if you're not very clear, please, you can drop your comment or your question in the comment section so that I can attend to it. Now, having drawn the straight line, now I'm going to measure right from this place. I will be measuring 2 inches. That's where my 2 inches, that's where my button is going to sit. Right here, I will be measuring 2 inches. This is 2 inches. But before then, I'm going to draw a very straight line so that I don't want this rough edge. I'll draw a very straight line first so that the rough edge will not obstruct my measurements at the end of the day. Okay, so after this rough edge, I can now measure my 2 inches from the line I'm drawing now. That's where my button is going to sit. Now, from here now, excuse me, I want a very straight line. Okay, now I can now measure 2 inches. Now, I can now measure 2 inches from this line I've just drawn inward. Like I said, that's going to be a line where my button is going to sit at the end of the day. So I connect it like that, 2 inches downward to the base. On my length line. So I'm going to connect these lines. Now I've drawn the straight line down to the base. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to measure from this line so that you can see. I want you to see what I'm doing. Now from this line here, from this line, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches downward this way. So watch what I'm going to do. See, from that line which I've drawn, I'm marking, I place my tape on it, and I'm going to mark 1.5 inch downward. Like this. Like that, through. Up to the end somewhere here. Now, having drilled the 1.5 inch downward, what I'm going to do is to connect these lines. I'm going to connect it right now. Okay, now the connection has been done. Now the next thing for me is to start my measurement properly. Now for the neckline, I'm going to measure 2.5 inches. That should be for the neckline. 2.5 inches. And I will mark. And also here, the line, 2.5 inches, so that I will have a straight line by the time I connect upward. I have 2.5 inches. Now I'm going to connect this line. So here will serve as my neck line measurement. Now I'm going to measure from this place. I'm going to measure the shoulder line, and I have the shoulder to be 16 inches. For the shoulder, I have 16 inches, and 16 divided by 2 gives me 8. So I'm going to place my rule right on this place. You know, this space here is where my button is going to sit. I won't touch this place. Right from this line, I'm going to measure 8 inches like this. 8 inches, as you can see. Now I will mark 8 inches. Now for the armhole line, now I have the shoulder is 8 inches. I'm going to reduce that 8 inches by 1, which gives me 7 inches. So that will be for my armhole line. So I'm going to measure 7 inches from there. Now, what I'm going to do right now is to measure the bust or the chest measurement. And for the chest, which we also call the bust measurement, I have it to be 35 inches. And 35 divided by 4 now, not by 2. It's only the shoulder that we divide by 2. But for the bust right now, is going to be divided, that's the body. We divide it by 4. So 35 divided by 4. 35 divided by 4 is going to give me almost 9 inches. It is going to give me 8¾ that is almost 9 inches. So I'm going to place my tape here. My tape is going to sit here. That's 8¾ my 8¾ is here. So I'm going to mark plus 1½ inches for the seam allowance. So I'm going to connect okay. Now I'm going to make a curve here. At this right angle triangle, I have 1 inch or 1.2 inch outward. So I'm going to make a curve. So then I will now measure 1 inch inward. 1 inch inward. And I will draw a straight line connecting to the line I have on the armhole. Then from there, I'm going to make a straight line connecting with this armhole line, the original armhole line. Now I will make another curve, because usually that of the front panel has a curve that is inward more than the back panel. So I have it that way. Now the next thing, this is the slope. I'm going to connect the slope of my shoulder is 1.5 inches, what I've drawn before. So I'm going to connect it to the neckline here. So the next thing for me, I'm through with this chest. Now from this chest, I'm going to measure a straight line to the base, just to dictate. I want to know the midpoint of this from the shoulder, from the bust, from the armhole line to the length line. I will look for a midpoint. So here I have 18.5 inches. Now half of 18.5 inches, I'll just make it like this and look for the half. So it gives me 9.9¾ So I'm going to measure from there 9.75. That will be for the midpoint, and that is going to serve as my waist. Now I will place it right there, because this shirt is a free shirt. So exactly what I have here on the bust is what I'm going to insert here, and as well the base. It's not a fitted shirt. So here I have here as 8.75. So I'm going to measure 8.75 Remember, I'm not placing it on this space which is meant for the button. I'm placing it on the line that ends that of the button line. So 8 3/4, this is what I have. I'm going to mark it. Now here I made an allowance of 1.5 inches. So that's what I'm going to make here exactly. So it has to be unique. First here, that's 1.5 inches. Now I will go to the base. Exactly what I've done here is what I'm going to do there. So I will mark 8 3/4, then plus 1.5 inches for the seam allowance. So now I'm going to connect. Remember, I have two lines here. One is the original, while the other one serves as the seam allowance. So I will start by connecting the inner one, which is the original line. I connect. Then for the seam allowance line, I'm going to connect it to each other. So in my neckline here, I'm going to make a curve, a very slight curve, like this. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm done, is to cut it out. So I'm going to take my scissors first. I'm going to cut this off. Now I'm going to remove this, cut this off first. Now, having cut it off, I'm going to start by cutting. This is my neckline. Now, the slope of my shoulder, I will also cut it off. Now, this one I'm cutting is the original line. But because the armhole of the front panel is always deeper, inward than that of the the back panel. So now I'm going to cut this off. I may cut it now, I may cut it later, but remember, we are going to cut this off at the end of the day. That's why the line is here. So I will be leaving it for now. So the next thing for me is to use the front. This is the front panel. I'm going to use this front panel to cut the back panel by placing it on each other. Now, usually the back panel is usually shorter, smaller in terms of wideness than the front panel. The back panel is usually smaller in terms of width than the front panel. So that is what I'm trying to sort out here. So I'm reducing it by 0.8 inches. So I'll need to confirm if I'm right. It has to be 0. That's what I want. 0.8 inches. You may decide to make yours 0.5, but it must not be too much, just little. The reason for this is, if you look at the shape of a body, you discover that the back part is usually smaller. You see that there is tummy in the front, so that's the essence why the back panel here is smaller in terms of width than the front panel. Now, having done this, I'm going to be very careful and shift this, because the length of the back is usually longer for men's shirts or for male shirts. The length of the back panel is usually longer than that of the front panel. So that's what the next thing I'm doing right now. And what I'm doing, I'm going to increase the back panel in terms of length by 4 inches. I will be increasing it by 4 inches. So I'm going to place it here. This point here is the original. It has not been touched. It has not been touched. So that's where I'm going to work on to place my tape, so that I can measure my extra 4 inches I'm adding to the back panel. Okay. So just watch me very carefully. Now I have my 4 inches here. So that's what I've used to increase the back panel compared to the front panel. So this is 4 inches. Now I'll now start my measurement. Now for the shoulder line, I have the shoulder is 16 inches, and 16 inches divided by 2 gives me 8 inches. I'm going to place my tape rule here at the tip here Then I measure 8 inches. So I have my 8 inches here. Going to take my chalk and mark it out. That's my 8 inches. So from there, I'm going to measure 1.5 downward from this edge, 1.5 downward here to 1.5 downward, after which I'm going to connect 1.5. That 1.5 inches is serving two purposes. The purposes are, is serving the depth of the neckline, and is also serving the depth of the shoulder slope. So that's what the 1.5 inches line is meant for here. Now I'm going to connect using my ruler. It's not always that the neckline, the depth of the neckline of a men's shirt is not always 1.5. It's because this particular shirt is for a school boy, so it's not a full adult. So when you watch my video, you see when I cut a men's shirt of adult, you discover that the depth is not 1.5. So please watch my videos. So from there, I'm going to measure the neckline now. From this here, from here, I'll be measuring the neckline. So I don't need to draw any line. Let me just use it like that. So the neckline I have for the front panel, that's exactly the neckline, the neck measurement, the neckline measurement I shall be using for the back. Exactly that measurement. So I have 2.5. So this is my 2.5. Now also here I will mark 2.5, after which I connect to give me a very straight line. So then I connect. So having connected, I'm going to curve, make a round curve, exactly what I did here. Make a round curve. Then the slope, I'm going to connect here to here. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, now here, this line, I have, the first thing I did was to measure the shoulder. From here I have 8. So this line, I'm going to bring it down. I'll be bringing it down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the chest. I have it the other time when we divided that 35, we had 8 3/4 inches. So that's exactly what I shall be drawing, marking. I have my 8 3/4 inches here. Eight 3/4. Sorry. This is my 8¾ Remember that time we also added 1.5 inches for the seam allowance, so I shall be adding 1.5 inches here too. So I'm going to connect this together. So I make a curve. Now the curve has been done automatically, what I've just done. So right now, what I shall be doing, we are through, is to cut out the back panel now. Let me start here. So we are through with that. Then the next thing for me now, I shall be cutting this off. I'm going to measure from this tip. I'm going to measure. I'll be measuring 4 inches here, or let me make it 4.5 inches. I'll measure 4.5 inches here. Then 4.5 inches plus 1.5 inches for the shoulder slope. Sorry, I want you to see what I've just done is to measure from here. I measure 4.5 inches and I mark it. This is the back panel. That's why it's longer. Then from this tip here, I will be measuring 1.5 inches for the slope plus 4.5 gives me 6 inches. So I will be measuring from here 6 inches so that I can have the same line on this. So I'm going to connect. This as well will be 4.5 because I want to have a straight line. So I will be measuring 4.5 here too. 4.5 here. From this tip, 6 inches. Then from here, 4.5, and I have it. And I'm going to connect so that it will give me a very straight line. So I'm going to cut this off. Now, having cut it off, I shall be using this particular one to cut out my interface. So I place it on this. Now I'm going to cut it exactly, cut it out. So this is my back panel which I've cut, and interface, sorry. Then this is the back, the front panel where I have where my button will sit, and this one here is the back panel. The next thing for me now is to cut my sleeve. Now I have, from my measurements for the sleeve, I have the sleeve length to be 7.5 or 7.5 inches. Now that 7.5 inches, I'm going to add extra 2.5 inches, which gives me the total of 10 inches. So I'm going to mark 10 inches first. This is 10 inches. I place my ruler. So the next thing, the shoulder is 7.5. So I'm going to measure from here. I will be measuring 7 inches. 7 inches plus 1 as my seam allowance. So I shall be measuring 8 inches. Now for the depth, shall be measuring 3.5 inches. I'll make for the depth. So I have 3.5 inches here. So this is where I'm going to make a straight line. I will also make sure this is 3.5, so that I can have a straight line. 3.5 here, 3.5. So let me connect. So I will make a straight line here. So for the round sleeve, I have 13 inches, and 13 inches divided by 2 gives me 6.5. That's what I shall be doing here. 6.5. I have my 6.5 here plus 1 inch as my seam allowance. 1 inch. So I'm going to connect, but before then I'll make a curve first on the armhole. This is my armhole. By the time I measure this, I will have 8 inches or 7.5. So I'm going to, from here I'll be measuring 7.5 inches plus 1 inch. I will connect this first line. I connect. So I'm going to cut it out. But before I cut it out, I'm going to fold this one in a bit. Just a bit. So that by the time I begin to fold, I will not have any problem regarding that. So I'm going to open it up like this, and I will make a curve inward. That's for what I did in the front panel when I was doing cutting. So at the end of the day, you will have the front a bit deeper than that of the back. So let me quickly make a mark. So that's just to know where I'm going to, where my seam allowance starts. So that's for the sleeve. Now the next thing for me is to cut the collar for this shirt. Now I'm going to take my paper steel. Now for 1.5, if you watch my video, I've made a video on strictly on how to cut shirt collar. So when you watch that video, you will understand better. Please watch that video for more understanding. Thank you very much. Now I have here straight line. Now this is the collar which I've cut for this shirt. This is the collar. If you want to get detail about this collar, please check my video. I've made a video on how to cut a collar perfectly and in a very simple way. So, and this is the sleeve. Why this one is the interface. Then this one is the front panel where I have where my button is going to sit. Then this one here is the back panel. Thanks for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Always be there for my video each time I release a new video. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe now to my channel. Like my video and share my video as well. Bye bye for now.